Looking to make a move to Charlotte? Today we're going to get into all of the pros and cons about moving to the Charlotte area. As both a Charlotte native myself, an agent of more than 12 years, somebody who used to build homes, flip homes, remodel homes here in Charlotte, I can tell you I know more about this city than a lot of agents out there. But what I can tell you is there's a lot of things to factor in if you're going to be relocating to the Charlotte market. So today we're going to jump into everything that covers lifestyle, traffic, weather, schools, the job market, and some of the neighborhood differences, as well as the cost of living. Hey all, I'm Rory Cummins at Class First Property Group, powered by eXp Realty. I focus on both luxury and new construction throughout Charlotte, but of course our team and me collectively do a lot of buying and selling throughout the Charlotte market for all price points. And I wanted to really put this video out because I get asked these questions all the time from my clients, especially those that are either looking to relocate here with their families or with a job transfer if they're solo. Or I have a lot of investors too that we work with that are looking to learn more about the market in terms of what options there are, whether it's, a small multifamily or a single family investment they're looking to make for rental, whether that's long-term rental or short-term rental. So with that being said, let's jump into it all. First thing first, I would like to talk about the actual lifestyle of Charlotte. I've been here all my life, as I mentioned before, and I can tell you that there's a lot more that the city has now than it did even 15 or 20 years ago. And I've been here quite a long time. I'm not going to share how long that's actually been, but I can tell you that the city got way cooler after around 2005, 2010, because a lot more restaurants came to the area with Johnson & Wales University and some of the other draw that brought in nicer restaurants. You've got way more capability for walkability. You have the light rail that runs different areas of the city. They're continually expanding that. That's been going on now for probably 15 to 20 years. And they're continuing to build new light rail throughout the city for transportation purposes. That brings a lot of growth and growth corridors. You have greenways, which were not really around, back in the 1990s or even the early 2000s. A lot of the greenway spaces that they have now have been built and developed, and they're still building more branches off of that all over the city, which is really cool. You've got a much bigger, larger airport with a lot more direct flights throughout the world, let alone throughout the US. And the overall lifestyle that you have here is a mix between, those that love the outdoors and that also want the city life, the urban life, the malls, the shopping, the retail, the restaurants, everything. You've got Lake Norman to the north. You have Mountain Island Lake, which is much smaller, but the closest to Charlotte in terms of it being right north of the city, kind of in between Lake Norman. And then Lake Norman flows through Mountain Island Lake, and then it actually dumps down into Lake Wylie, which is on the south side of Charlotte, right on the South Carolina border, with TKK, Fort Mill, and going on down into Rock Hill. So you do have a mix of these three lakes that you can have those lifestyles with. And then of course you have the more rural areas, which are developing very rapidly down in Waxhaw, Weddington, Marvin, which is really south of the South Charlotte area. So you've got a really good mix. And then on the north side with Lake Norman, that is more of the lake lifestyle that people are looking for. There's so much that the city now has to offer. One of the things that is really cool about Charlotte is you have the mountains just 2 hours away, whether it's Asheville or the Boone area, which are completely different mountain markets. You've got, including the ski mountains and stuff up near the Boone area, up in Banner Elk. You have, you can get to DC in 5.5 to 6 hours. You can get to Atlanta in 4 hours. You can get to the beach in 3 hours, and there's no shortage of beach options. It runs from, Ocean Isle, the Outer Banks, Myrtle Beach, Charleston, Wilmington. There's just 1,000,001 beaches, Holden Beach, Oak Island, a lot of options. So that all goes with the lifestyle. But when you get into what is bringing people to Charlotte, let's talk about the weather for a second. We have very mild winters. There are some people in this city that are maybe relocating from the south to our city. Let's say they're coming from Miami or something like that. Of course, they're not going to like our winters, but overall our winters rarely get into the 30s. That's usually the low, and that only typically lasts for, a few hours of the day. I usually tell people in the wintertime, we actually go to work with the heat on, and then we come home in the afternoons with our air conditioning on in our car, because it'll usually be in the low to mid 30s, high 30s in the dead of winter. in the mornings, and then by afternoon, it's already like in the mid 50s up into the low to mid 60s in the wintertime. So very mild as far as the winters go. Spring and fall are amazing, as are most places across the country. And then, of course, in summertime, you do get the hot and the humidity. So if you're not familiar with that, you probably want to come check us out for a little bit. Most of the time, it's definitely way nicer than you're going to get, let's say, in Florida or some of the other markets like Texas and stuff. So weather overall is very mild. It rarely snows here. When it does, everybody freaks out and everything shuts down for like a day, even if the snow melts within, 2 hours, which it typically does. We might get a heavy snow once every 3 or 4 years, but again, it's typically gone within a day or two. So yeah, weather is great for that reason. And like I said, you can get to the beach or the mountains within 2 or 3 hours. So if you want to see snow, you can drive 2 hours to the mountains. If you want to go to the beach and get to the warmer weather, it's very doable by car. Regarding school systems, you have a lot of options here. You've got obviously the public school system throughout Charlotte. And then, of course, when you go on the outer reaches of the city and you get up into the Lake Norman area, which is, Huntersville, Davidson, Cornelius, Mooresville, you have a lot more options with public school systems as well as charter schools and magnet schools, which Charlotte also offers. And then on the south side, from Ballantyne, Marvin, Weddington, Waxhaw, Indian Trail, you've got all these different markets that have even better school systems, both on the public school system side as well as the charter schools, magnet schools, and a lot of private school options as well. So there's no shortage of good schools to put your kids in here. You can obviously go on like one of the websites I recommend to a lot of our clients is just go on greatschools.org. You can look up the statistics on all of them, where they're rated, no matter what address you might be looking at for a particular home. That'd be a completely different video for me to go through all the details there, but just know that Charlotte has a lot of public school options between what you're assigned to, and then a plethora of schools that you can actually choose to apply your kid to on the magnet schools, charter schools that are in that overall district, so that you don't have to worry about getting bused to a specific place. You can actually choose for your child to go elsewhere. They have a lottery system and usually have multiple options to apply. So lots of options there, which is also nice. It was not like that 30 years ago when I went to school here. It was pretty much you were at this one particular school that you were assigned to by address, and that was pretty much it. And oftentimes they kept changing the school systems every couple of years, which drove parents crazy. So with that, let's talk about the job market. One of the main reasons, obviously, people relocate here is because they're relocating for a job. Regardless, that is one of the things that makes Charlotte so appealing across the nation, is we have a very diverse job market. It's not heavily weighed in one industry or one sector or a couple companies. We are very strong for construction industry. There's a lot of growth here. You've got the healthcare industry, you've got the tech industry, you have the banking industry. I would say it's decent on the hotels front. And there's a lot of corporations that make their headquarters either in Charlotte or just outside of Charlotte too. As an example, Lowe's has their headquarters just north of here. There's a lot of companies that have moved into the area over the last 15, 20 years. It's still continuing for business in that realm. I wouldn't say that we're the most advantaged when it comes to the incentives for companies, but we're also, like, there are some companies, that might look at like a place like Nevada or something like that for more growth. But Charlotte is really a good balance for attracting that different diversity within the corporate world. So you're going to continue to see a lot of growth, a lot of companies coming here. And because it is a very diverse market, you're going to continue to see the growth. Because we have a very diverse job market, very good weather, very centrally located in the south with a great airport and proximity to mountains and the beach, it's going to continue to drive the population growth. Right now, as I'm shooting this video, the actual number of people moving to Charlotte every single day is about 120 people per day moving into the city. That's a pretty good growth rate. When you think about how many people are going to be looking for houses, whether it's to rent or to buy. I always like to tell people, they ask me, like, what's the long-term prospects of Charlotte in terms of appreciation or growth? And I kind of consider us like the next Atlanta. We really don't want the crime and traffic of Atlanta, but at the same time, do I think that the Charlotte market is going to slow down? No, I don't. I really think that we're going to continue to grow in terms of population growth as a city over the next 10 years, 15 years, 20 years to get to the scale that Atlanta is. But I think we're going to be doing it in a much smarter way when it comes to the growth corridors, the traffic, everything else that makes Charlotte unique in that regard. So with that being said, I think that kind of ties into with taxes and cost of living. So let's touch on that for a second. When it comes to taxes, I would say that we're very neutral in terms of things across the nation. When it comes to the state tax, we're not the most heavily taxed by any means, but we're also, we obviously do have a state tax, unlike Tennessee, Florida, Texas, and other states like that. But it is a very reasonable tax. And when it comes to property taxes, which is more relevant to real estate as we're talking about moving here, it's also very advantageous. Most homes that you're looking to buy here, your taxes are probably going to land somewhere between $2,800 a year to maybe $4,500 a year. For the average style house, let's say between a price point of around $350,000 to maybe $750,000 home. I can't tell you the median price of the home right off the bat on this video, but it is definitely in that realm of the property taxes. I mean, obviously, if you're buying a $2 million, $3 million home, your taxes could be anywhere from $5,000 to $8,000 a year. That, of course, is not typical, but much lower than other cities like up north, even cities like in Atlanta. You might be paying double that. So I would say that it's very advantageous. And that kind of gets me into the cost of living. Charlotte is definitely right in that mid-tier area. It's not as affordable as it was 15, 20 years ago. However, when you look at all of the other options across the nation, in terms of everything that Charlotte has to offer, we're very affordable when it comes to the cost of living on taxes, house affordability, the job market and growth, and what your dollar is actually going to get you in our city itself. For other things like groceries and gas and everything else. Gas is a little bit cheaper as soon as you cross the border into South Carolina, and some people actually will drive 10 minutes south of Charlotte just to get over the line of South Carolina to get the cheaper gas. But it's not that much different. Our gas prices are nowhere near what you're going to pay in some places out west or even up north. So very affordable. And then as far as neighborhoods go, I could make obviously a whole nother video about this, but just to touch on some of the differences, you have the outer part of Charlotte, which is, if you look at the map, you've got 485, which is the outer belt loop of the entire city. It's basically a big circle. And you do have Charlotte extending beyond 485, but for the sake of this video, let's just look at North Charlotte, East Charlotte, West Charlotte, South Charlotte. When you look at the uptown area in the direct center of our center city, that city, most of the homes that were built in the center city spiraling out were mostly built in the turn of the century, around 1900 through 1940. So when you look at a map of Charlotte, especially like if you look at South Charlotte, for instance, which is a very popular area, if you're looking at the map, as you go from the center city down south, for every mile or two that you travel, the homes were built about 10 years newer, right? So as you get to, let's say, the Dilworth area, the Myers Park area, the Cotswold area, most of those homes were built in the 1930s, the 1940s, and 1950s. When you come down a little bit further south, over into South Park, Madison Park, let me think what else, the Providence Road area, Lansdowne, some of these neighborhoods that belly further south, those were mostly built in the 1950s, the 1960s, and a little bit of the 1970s. As you go further south, like that concentric circle as it goes around, you're getting into homes that were built in the 1980s. Go a little bit further south, you're getting into the homes that were built in the 1990s. And then when you get out to 485, most of those homes were built in the 2010 range. That is basically just the development path of Charlotte. When you get into the more historical neighborhoods, you're getting more walkability, more density, more restaurants and shopping, more older parks, less HOAs. So you don't want to be in an HOA neighborhood. You'll want to stay in those concentric circles that were kind of where South Park is in the part of South Charlotte, and north from there is mostly homes with no HOA neighborhoods, more walkability, a little bit older, and you're going to have some infill new construction that's mixed into these older neighborhoods where the lots are bigger. And because they don't have to conform with an HOA, you have a lot more freedom of architecture and other things. With the further south you go from South Park Mall, let's say from that midpoint of South Charlotte, further south, you're going to be into newer neighborhoods. And that doesn't mean brand new. I'm saying 1970s and 80s up into today, newer. Those are going to have HOAs typically. You're going to have less brand new construction, but the homes will generally be newer and more affordable. So that's just a really pure and simple way to think about what you're going to be looking for in Charlotte and how the neighborhoods came about with development, because Charlotte was founded not too long ago, right? Like 150 years ago, on average, when it comes to the population growth, and they just kept building out as it spread out from the center. The other markets to talk about, though, when it comes to the neighborhoods, as I mentioned at the very beginning of this video, you have Lake Norman, which is up north. You've got Huntersville, Davidson, Cornelius, Mooresville, all along the I-77 corridor, close access to the lake, mostly newer construction up there. You can find older homes, but for the most part, I would say, greater than 60 to 80% of all the homes up in that area are going to be built from the late 90s all the way up into today in terms of new development. And there's still a lot of new construction up there. You have the lake proximity. You also have great schools. You've got good shopping up there. You've got proximity to the 77 corridor, so you can bounce down to Charlotte really quickly. You do get a lot of traffic trying to get from Lake Norman down into Charlotte, unless, of course, you pay additionally, because they do have a toll road there now for special lanes for people coming to and from Charlotte. And then going further out from Charlotte on the south side, you're going to have Fort Mill, Tegakay, Rock Hill, Clover, which is all South Carolina. It's basically the, if you're looking at a map, that would be the southwest of Charlotte itself in terms of the city, as well as Belmont, which backs up to Lake Wylie itself. Belmont is on the west corridor as it goes to Gastonia, right near the airport. A lot of growth in that area as well. And then, of course, you have Ballantyne, Weddington, Waxhaw, Marvin, and Indian Trail, which is all the further south you go out of 485 on the south side. And then, of course, Indian Land, which is the South Carolina side as well, that's closer to Fort Mill. All of these neighborhoods are mostly new construction, mostly HOA, much bigger homes for your dollar. You can get a very nice home out there for $700 to $1 million, whereas in Charlotte, you may get a 1960s ranch that's remodeled for that price range. It really just depends on what you're looking for. Again, I could go into a lot more detail on neighborhoods. I just wanted to give you guys a very broad overview of the Charlotte area. And then, of course, you have a lot of submarkets in and around Charlotte as well, like Monroe, Concord, Gastonia, Mount Holly, Denver. All of these submarkets, as well as what's in South Carolina, are also growing. Again, is all tied into the greater Charlotte market. But if you're looking to relocate, definitely reach out to our team. We work with buyers and sellers every single day, all over different price points, all over this market. We have a lot of experience to bring to the table. Happy to answer any questions that you guys all have about the market itself, or about areas and everything else that you're gonna have questions on. I hope this video helped you all, and I will look forward to seeing you on the next one. If you want to keep up with all my videos, hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys in the next video.